You know the feeling. Not the silence itself, the panic inside it. The way a single ignored message, a single unanswered call, a single turned back, a single pair of eyes that looked through you like you were not there, could undo everything inside you within minutes. The way you would replay the last conversation, searching for what you did. The way your chest would tighten. The way you would find yourself doing things you swore you would never do. Apologizing for things that were not your fault. Softening things that deserved to be said clearly. Making yourself smaller just to make the silence end. You thought it was love. You thought caring that much, being that affected by one person's coldness, was what love felt like. I need to tell you what it actually was. And by the time this video is over, you will never experience the silent treatment the same way again. Not because it will stop hurting, but because you will finally understand what it was actually doing to you. And that understanding, that specific clarity, is the beginning of something that cannot be taken from you. Stay until the very end, because the last thing I'm going to tell you is the one thing nobody says out loud about the silent treatment. And it is the thing that changes everything. What most people get completely wrong. Most people think the silent treatment is about anger, that someone goes quiet because they are too upset to speak, too hurt to engage, too overwhelmed to have the conversation. And sometimes, in healthy relationships, in normal human conflict, that is true. Sometimes people need space. Sometimes the wisest thing is to step back and let things settle before words get said that cannot be unsaid. That is not what I am talking about. What I am talking about is different from that in one specific and crucial way. In healthy silence, the person who steps back is managing their own emotions. They are protecting the conversation. They come back when they are ready. And when they come back, things get addressed. In the silent treatment, the silence is not about managing emotions. It is about managing you. There is a specific type of silence that is not a pause in the relationship. It is a weapon being used inside it. And the person deploying it knows, consciously or not, exactly what it does to you, exactly how it lands, exactly what it makes you do. They know because they have watched it work. The thing it does to your nervous system, and why you cannot simply choose not to care. Here is the part that most people who have experienced the silent treatment most need to hear. The panic you feel when it happens is not weakness. It is not neediness. It is not evidence that you are too sensitive or too dependent, or that you love someone more than you should. It is your nervous system responding to a genuine threat. Because your nervous system does not distinguish between physical danger and social rejection. In terms of the signals it sends, the cortisol, the adrenaline, the activation of the threat response, being ignored by someone you love activates many of the same pathways as physical pain. This is not metaphor, this is neuroscience. When someone withdraws connection from you suddenly and without explanation, your brain registers it as danger. Because for most of human history, social rejection was danger. Being cut off from the group meant being cut off from survival. Your brain does not know you are in a comfortable house with food in the refrigerator and a phone in your hand. Your brain knows someone you love has gone silent, and it responds the way it was designed to respond to threats, with urgency, with desperation, with the overwhelming need to restore the connection as quickly as possible. And the person deploying the silent treatment does not need to understand neuroscience to know this. They simply need to have watched what happens to you when they go quiet. And they have. The 4 things the silent treatment is actually designed to do. The first thing it does is rewrite what happened. An argument occurred, something was said, a line was crossed, maybe by them, maybe by you, maybe by both. And in a healthy relationship, that becomes a conversation. Things get examined, accountability happens, repair happens. But when the silent treatment follows a conflict, the conflict does not get examined. It gets replaced. Suddenly, the issue is not what was said or done. The issue is the silence. The issue is your response to it. The issue is whether you can restore the connection and what you are willing to do to restore it. The original conflict simply ceases to exist because you are too busy managing the silence to remember what started it. That is not an accident. The silent treatment is one of the most effective tools for making legitimate concerns disappear without ever addressing them. Because it shifts your focus completely from the thing that needed to be discussed to the relationship emergency that suddenly exists in its place. And by the time the silence ends, by the time warmth returns, the original issue is so far back in the conversation that raising it feels like creating another problem rather than finishing the first one. The second thing it does is calibrate your behavior for the future. You learn things from the silent treatment. You learn what topics produce it, what questions generate it, what needs, expressed clearly, lead to it. And you file that information, not deliberately, not consciously, but in the way that all of us file painful experiences, as things to avoid. Over time, sometimes a long time, sometimes shockingly short, you stop raising those topics, stop asking those questions, stop expressing those needs. Not because you no longer have them, because the cost of expressing them has become too high. This is behavioral conditioning, the same mechanism that works on every nervous system that has ever learned to avoid a source of pain. And it works on you, not because you are weak, but because you are human. Because your brain is doing exactly what brains do when they encounter painful consequences. It learns. And what it learns, what gets slowly written into the architecture of how you behave in this relationship, is the map of everything you are no longer allowed to be. The third thing it does is test and confirm your attachment. There is something the person using the silent treatment needs to know, not consciously, but at some level, at the level where control operates. They need confirmation that you will not leave, that you will stay, that you will try, that the fear of losing them is stronger than whatever boundary they just crossed. The silent treatment tests that. Every time you reach out during it, every apology, every softened position, every gesture toward restoring peace is a data point, confirming that the attachment is strong enough, confirming that you are not going anywhere. And with each confirmation, the tool becomes more available. The threshold for using it gets lower. The situations that once would have required actual conversation become situations that simply get silenced instead. Because silence works. Every time you proved that it worked, you made the next silence more likely. The fourth thing it does is establish who holds the power in this relationship. Power in a relationship is not about dominance or control in a conscious, deliberate sense. It is about who sets the emotional weather. In a relationship where the silent treatment is used regularly, one person's emotional state controls the entire climate. When they are engaged, there is warmth. When they withdraw, there is cold. When they forgive, there is relief. And the other person, the one in the panic, the one trying to restore the connection, the one adjusting and accommodating and apologizing, learns their role. Their role is to manage the weather, to watch the sky, to adjust their behavior to the signs, to be always slightly alert to whether conditions are changing, to live in the quiet, low-level anxiety of someone who has learned that the weather can turn at any time, and that the responsibility for surviving the storm is theirs. That is not a partnership. That is a power structure. And it was built, brick by brick, by every silence that was allowed to do its work unchallenged. The twist, the one that hurts and heals at the same time. And now, the thing I promised you, the thing nobody says out loud, here it is. The silent treatment worked on you, not despite how much you love, but because of it. The panic, the urgency, the inability to simply not care and wait it out, the reach-outs, the apologies, the shrinking. None of that happened because you were weak. It happened because you were genuinely attached, because you genuinely loved, because the relationship meant something real to you, and the threat of losing it activated every survival mechanism you have. The silent treatment is calibrated to the strength of your attachment. It does not work on people who do not care. It only works on people who do, which means, and I need you to sit with this, the very thing that was used as a weapon against you was your capacity for genuine love. Not a flaw, not weakness. The most human thing about you. Used against you by someone who understood, at whatever level of consciousness they operated at, that it would work. Because it always did. That is the thing that should make you furious. And also, the thing that should make you whole. Because nothing that was done to you says anything about your value, your stability, your capacity to love well. It says everything about the gap between what you were offering and what you were actually inside. What actually breaks the pattern, not what temporarily relieves it, what actually ends it. The first thing is the most counterintuitive. Stop treating the silence as an emergency. Your nervous system will tell you it is an emergency. It will activate every alarm. It will generate urgency, anxiety, the desperate need to act. Let those signals happen without acting on them. Not forever, not without limit. Just long enough to let the automatic response slow down. Long enough to ask, what is actually true here? Is this a relationship emergency? Or is this a control mechanism doing what it was designed to do? Because the moment you stop responding with panic, the moment the silence does not produce the expected behavior change in you, you have fundamentally altered the dynamic. The tool stops working when the target stops responding to it. The second thing is to name it, out loud, in the relationship, not as an accusation, as an observation. I notice that when we have conflict, there is often silence that goes on for a significant amount of time. I find that difficult, and I want to understand what is happening during that time, and what we could do instead. Some people, when the tool is named clearly and calmly, will hear it, will recognize something in themselves, will want to do something different. Those are the people worth staying for. Others will respond to the naming with more silence, or with a reframing that makes you the problem for bringing it up. That response more than anything else, tells you exactly what you are dealing with. The third thing is to understand that your anxiety is not the problem. Most people who experience the silent treatment eventually come to believe that something is wrong with them, that they are too sensitive, too dependent, too reactive. The anxiety is not a character flaw to be managed. It is a reasonable response to an unreasonable pattern. The solution is not to become less affected by people withdrawing love and connection. The solution is to be in relationships where love and connection are not regularly weaponized. Your nervous system is not broken. It is living in the wrong environment. The fourth thing, the hardest thing, is to let yourself be honest about what you need. You need to be in a relationship where conflict produces conversation, where hurt gets expressed and received, where silence is a choice to gather yourself, not a punishment designed to change you. You know this. You have probably known it for a long time. The question is not whether you deserve that. You do. The question is whether you are willing to require it. You have been in the panic. Maybe recently. Maybe for years. Maybe right now, while you are watching this, there is a silence operating in your life that is doing everything I just described. And if that is true, I want you to hear this clearly. The panic you feel is not proof that something is wrong with you. It is proof that you are attached, that you love, that the relationship means something. Those are not things to be ashamed of, but they are things that deserve, absolutely deserve, to exist in a context where they are held carefully, where they are not used as leverage, where the person who holds your attachment uses it to love you better, not to keep you afraid. You deserve a relationship where the silence is just silence, where it does not mean anything terrible is coming, where you do not have to watch the weather, where you can simply be present, trusting that if something is wrong, it will be talked about. That conflict produces closeness rather than distance. That your needs and your love and your genuine attachment are met with the same thing. That is not too much to ask. It is the minimum. And if the relationship you are in cannot offer the minimum, that is not a verdict on your worth. It is information. Clear, painful, necessary information about what has to change and what you have to require for your life to be what you actually deserve. If this video helped you finally understand something you have been living inside without language for it, please share it with one person who needs to hear this. Because somewhere right now, someone is in the panic, wondering what they did, trying to figure out how to make the silence end. And they deserve to know what the silence is actually doing and what they deserve instead. Subscribe, because this channel exists to give you the psychology that makes sense of the things that otherwise make no sense at all. I will see you in the next one.